with a solo sports shuffle here tonight. Tampa Motormouth in the zone behind the microphone, rocking and rolling here with you. Kind of going a little Bucks heavy, sort of stuck. It's just amazing for a team that isn't in the playoffs, flipping at all. How much Buck news we had this week, starting, of course, off with the Todd Bowles being retained. Definitely caught everyone off guard, seriously off guard. 'Cause you had a lot of national folks out there very surprised that he was retained for the 2026 season. I had him on my walking the plank list, and I was definitely shocked myself, but really went to the Blazers. He made the case 3 divisional titles are enough for him to come back in 2026. They agreed, and well, here you go. And definitely not everybody was happy about that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But of course, then you had cleaning house as 7 coaches fired or retired, 2 retired, 5 fired, including, of course, Josh Grizzard. You had the meme comparing the playbooks of Liam Cohen to Josh's as yeah. So, but then all of a sudden, he's gone. So you might have had some Buck fans going ding dong, the witch is dead. But yeah, then we get Zach Robinson because there was all the thought and the yak and the talk and the hope for Mike McDaniel. Because all of a sudden, when you first heard that, you're like, Mike McDaniel down here, is that an upgrade? Let me upgrade. But yeah, the more and more you think about it, and the more and more you realize that there's another candidate. Hey, way out of the Bucks' reach because he's talking about possibly being in consideration for the Buffalo Bills head coaching job right now. Also, right now, if you use proper English, right now, also, but the main place that everyone tends to think he is going to wind up is in Los Angeles with Hardball, with Herbert. And yeah, because he just wants to go somewhere that has a really good quarterback. And right now, I think the Chargers situation is definitely better than the Bills situation. I'll get to that in a little bit, but did you see that Bills press conference? Oh my god! But yeah, so then you have a bit of a house cleaning there, so we'll see. Not sure if Buck fans are more optimism or less optimism. And then, of course, you have Zach Robinson. Okay, coming in to take the shoes left by the now vacant slot by Grizzard. Yeah, you had that. Then of course, Rashad White. Oh boy, just kind of out of nowhere because you're wondering, okay, well, we're going to have a good locker room next year with at least with running back with Sean Tucker, and we got Bucky Irving, who hopefully will be healthier next year. And you got Rashad White, but hold the phone, whether it's a Samsung or iPhone or whatever model of phone, because hold a little bit of rumbling going on here. As Rashad White apparently went on the Loaded Cannons podcast and he unloaded a whole bunch of salvos, including criticizing the defensive play calling of head coach Todd Bowles, big time, and the biggest one I think, was when asked about coaching staff changes. Just start everybody new, bring in new people. In other words, get rid of all the current regime. So yeah, and then of course Rashad White put out on Instagram that what was it? He didn't leave the Bucks. The Bucks left him. So I just have a feeling, unless something Herculean in the way of diplomacy happens behind the scenes, we've seen the last of Rashad White as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Yikes! Yeah, just some of the comments. I think in the story about Instagram, where somebody's thinking that he thinks he's an RB1, he's an RB2. So yeah, so everyone's surprised. Bowles was back. Bye bye the Grizzards. Zach Robinson. Then you got the Rashad White nutsiness going on down, and then oh boy, Baker flippin' Mayfield responding to, I believe it was an Atlanta Falcons beat writer putting out talking about the dumpster fire of a quarterback room and throwing Baker in there with that dumpster fire of a quarterback room in the Cleveland Browns during his tenure. Baker responded to the post basically saying, uh, failure is a bit of a reach, pal. And then talking about how his whole situation was handled in Cleveland, and then basically telling Kevin Stefanski that he's really looking forward to seeing him twice a year, coach. Yikes. This definitely feels like Baker Mayfield went into the wrong profession. Maybe should have been a WWE wrestler. Getting on the mic. You can imagine him getting on the mic challenging for he wants to have a shot at the Intercontinental Champion. That was the coolest spell. Honestly, I think of all the crazy wrestling belts out there, Intercontinental just was the coolest sounding title. I know World Heavyweight's probably the best one, but I don't know why Intercontinental just the coolest sounding. But oh yeah, so you got Rashad White going on podcasts. You got Baker Mayfield sliding into social media posts and unleashing a salvo right at Kevin Stefanski, spicing things up in the NFC South. And the new season hasn't even started yet. So Zach Robinson, coaches being cleaned out of the Bucks, looking for maybe a fresher start. So yeah, that's what I meant by holy crap for a team that's not even in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield in the news, Rashad White in the news, Zach Robinson, new coach, and yeah. So getting out, getting out of Buckland, getting out of Buckland, because I know everyone's like, who cares about the Bucks? Who cares? They didn't even get in the playoffs. Who cares? But yeah, you're a Buck fan. It's like, okay, what's happened now, and what's happened this week? Of course, down in Miami, Jeff Halfley, new head coach down there. But oh my god, the Bills press conference. Just what an absolute utter disaster should have show that sometimes you just shouldn't have press conferences, the contradictions, the interrupting each other, the whole the one of the people that you really have to feel bad for, even though he kind of made his own bed as with all the times that he had to be healthy scratch because he missed this or missed that or missed whatever. But you really have to feel for Keon Coleman, just all of a sudden literally thrown under the freaking bus. Oh, just, coaching staff wanted him, then people putting out all the posts about Bean wanting him. And how about that, right? Sean McDermott, you look at his coaching record. You look at his coaching record, and he was fired. And he's one of the best coaches out there as far as records go, as far as getting your team to the playoffs, as far as regular seasons go. And that's going to be a heck of a hurdle for the new coach, whomever it is, who comes into that situation. And that's why Mike McDaniel's probably a better situation out there in LA right now than it is in Buffalo. I just think that if you're a head coach, if you want a more secure atmosphere where you don't have to worry about who's saying, who's doing what in politics, I think you go to LA, especially after just the kind of year you had in Miami with Tua. I think you want LA, as I heard some discussion, that the better candidate for dealing with the whole Buffalo climate right now might in fact be Brian Dable, former coach, of course, of the New York Giants. But just what an absolute spit show that press conference was. And if you haven't watched this, do yourself a favor, clear up a couple minutes of your schedule, go and watch it, or go and watch some of the highlight clips, some of the people yakking and talking about, and your mouth is just going to absolutely go. Because let me tell you, it's bad. And that's just the one question that when I'm talking about the Bills, who's worse right now? Which franchise do you think is worse? Because I was watching a podcast about the Browns. So, you got Pagula, you got Haslam. which owner? I think Pagula right now is might be trending in the direction of being a worse owner, even with all the craptacularness that exists in the factory of sadness. But right now, Bills are more of a crap show, I think, than even the Browns. And that's saying something. Seriously. You start checking what's going on. Browns, checking what's going on with Bills. And yeah, Haslam actually sounded more articulate than Pagula. I know. I know you're going, really? 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 But yeah, right now, I think the Browns actually are in a better situation, even with Deshaun Watson. Because Josh Allen, the main man, he's the quarterback for the Bills, but he has to do everything himself. Literally. Himself and Cook. Himself and Cook, and whichever wide receiver of the week he happens to have available. But yeah, so not a lot of Bucks news, but the Bucks were in the news a lot, and two of the news stories not for the right reasons nor for good reasons. Baker Mayfield definitely not what you would call a good story, and Rashad White definitely not in there for good reasons. But being it's a solo one, we've almost come to wrapping this puppy up, and it's time for Who Are Joel Tampa Motormouth and Flying Ryan picking for the conference championship weekends. Final four. Find out who's going to the big game. The big game 60. We're ready. We're here. It's almost time for the 2 week long butt hiatus where you talk about the both cities' skylines when they're in the Super Bowl and talk about the best restaurant and what's the best food for each city. Yeah, right? All that crap. But yeah, here we go, and I'm going to start off with of course, let's check in first with what the current odds are, and we're going straight to money. Straight to the money line. Yeah, you can tell different, separate each game. Different separation between the early game. That's the word I was looking for. Different separation between the early game and the late game. Oh boy, because the early game, 82% Denver, 18% for New England for the money line. And New England is $2, almost $2.50 favorites going in to Denver, of course, because of the quarterback situation. Drake May against Jared Stidham. The whole question is how good is Stidham, who hasn't played in like what, 2 flipping years? I think all the talking only 2 years. 2 years. Sean Payton trying to talk him up, but yeah, everything is going to be how good can Stidham pull off going in up against New England's defense, which is nothing to sneeze at. Maybe not Denver, but nothing to sneeze at. And then game number 2, Rams and Seattle. Seattle buck 35 favorites. That one, yeah, you can tell. A little bit more of a disagreement of who's going to win in that close contest. Rams 53%, Seattle 47%. Yeah, because if you go to spread line, if you go to the spread line, yeah, it's a definitely total different story. Denver's just 56% to New England 44%, and Seattle is 55%. The Rams 45%. And gotta look at the totals. Over and under 49% for the Denver New England game. Think under 51% think over, and for game number 2, 35% think under, 65% think over. All right, so you got the numbers. So who are we picking? So let's start. Let's start off with Flying Ryan's picks. You always know he tends to like to go contrarian of mine. But yeah, we'll start off with his picks. And Flying is going with Denver Broncos. Whether or not he's buying into the whole New England has a problem with backup quarterbacks mojo. Whether he thinks that the defense is strong enough to beat that offense of the New England Patriots, or if maybe just the question of has Drake May and the New England Patriots really played anybody this year? Well, we're going to find out. But Ryan, as we KO the microphone, okay, gotta do that at least once. Yeah, we want to consider the place more than the mic is, maybe. But yeah, Ryan's picking Denver, and for the game number 2, he's picking Seattle. So he's picking Denver just based on that defense. Maybe Stidham is better. Stidham is better than everybody thinks and is passable enough to go ahead and get her done. And Ryan is obviously thinking like me, because Seattle is who I picked for the second game as we go to my pick. For Joel's picks for Tampa Motormouth. Yeah, I'm looking at it completely differently, as I tend to think that New England has the better quarterback of the two, and I really think that that is going to decide the entire contest, because we saw New England having the better quarterback of the two, and just Stroud was completely awful, and is Stidham better than Stroud? I don't think so. So I think it's going to be an ugly one. I think it's going to be a close one. But I'm just going with New England. I'm going with Drake May. Yeah, I reached for him in the draft in the league that I got knocked out in the first round playoffs. But that's who I tend to have faith, and I'm riding with Drake May. And the second one, I agree with Ryan. I think both of us are just a little bit wary of the Rams' play. Gotta wonder what's going on with Devontae Adams, because if they had both Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, I think you pick the Rams. But yeah, gotta be a little concerned about Stafford's health, right? With the finger, I know you have the oblique with Sam Darnold, but I just think this is setting up for a Sam Darnold and the Rams, who aren't going to have Zach Charbonnet because he's out had a season-ending surgery, so he's not going to be in this round. Or if they get to the Super Bowl, he's not going to be able to play that either. But yeah, so that means it's all up to one Mr. Ken Walker. So yeah, Ryan's picking Denver and Seattle, and I'm picking New England and Seattle. So let's see what happens. It's time. It is time tomorrow to see what will be with the AFC and the NFC. Who's going to the big dance 60? I don't know about you. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm ready. Let's go. I think the first game has a chance of being the dud. Second game will be the stud. That's just the way I feel, and we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, both games will be good and competitive. But usually I have a stud. Usually I have a dud. But I think first game will be the, and the second game will be the one that, holy crap, that was really good, amazing football. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks off and rock and roll. And also have to end up shot to the bolts, doing it 15 flipping points, winning the shootout last night in the Windy City. Got the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight, rocking and rolling. So go Bolts and enjoy hockey right now while you got it, because we're coming up on the Olympic break sooner than you realize. You can turn around, and NHL will be off pretty much for most of February, basically most of February, not all of February, but most of February. So it would sort of be like you're going, what do you mean? What do you mean there are no hockey games scheduled? My football's done. I need my hockey, but just sort of breathe in and out. It's okay. It'll be back. It's not like 2020 that when you're watching updates on darts. Well, yeah, updates on darts and was it, oh yeah, the Tiger King, the darts and Tiger King, and the last dance. Yeah, that dominated sports talk. Good God, and I'll never forget. Everyone was so happy when the draft came. I was like, "We got the draft. It's actual sports stuff. We have the draft. We haven't almost got the mic. Didn't get the mic in. Almost we have the draft. But yeah, just a quick one tonight. Just me, JV. Hope whoever you pick comes up if you're placing in a little bit of an investment on it. How shall we say? But yeah, hope everything comes up green and you get the check mark by whatever you pick. And my final thought is yeah, proofreading definitely helps. As hang on, if we can go to the story, because I saved it because I was like, yeah, I know, I know exactly what my final thought is going to be. Is this from Yahoo Sports as Bill's statement firing Sean McDermott had an embarrassing typo in it, and you gotta love every flipping second you bring it up. I gotta have a video. Here's a video that you don't want. As like Epic Games, every time you boot up your computer, you really need four flipping notifications. Oh my god! But Buffalo Bills, is from Yahoo Sports, fired Sean McDermott on Monday, and as customary, owner Terry Pagula put together a statement that was shared on social media. It had a typo in the very first line. This was the very first sentence of the statement. Mm. Sean has done an admirable job of leading our football team for the past 5 seasons, said owner Terry Pagula. Of course, the word they're looking for is admirable, not admiral. So yeah, just my final thought for tonight, being as somebody who occasionally forgets to proofread himself. Hey, guilty as charged. We're all human beings here, but yeah. And Sean McDermott did an admiral job. No, can you do a colonel job? Can you do a lieutenant job? Is that that's a worse job than a colonel job? But ah, he didn't. He did an admiral job. I saw that. I'm going. That's got to be my final thought. That's just ah, yeah. Somebody probably got a notification in their inbox about that one, I'm sure. Oops. But hope you have a fantastic Saturday night. Hopefully you don't have to deal with winter weather wherever you are. But if you do, stay safe and stay hunkered down. And hope you have enough emergency food and all that good stuff as you tend to deal with the winter weather that is happening pretty much everywhere you look on the map that isn't Florida. But take care, and I'll talk at you another time, and maybe it'll be we'll talk at you another time because yeah, we're heading into the 2 week break. We'll hopefully be able to recap the conference championship games, and then 2 week break. Ha! We're almost there. We're almost to the end of the National Football League playoff season. It's almost here. You blink and you miss it. It's crazy. But I'm Joel Verlin, and also had the picks for Flying Ryan, who was unable to podcast tonight. And I'm out.